so we're going to get into this really quick. This word was spoken by Moses from the Lord. It's in Deuteronomy 33:23. Anybody can turn to it really quick. He says, of Naphtali, he said, O Naphtali, satisfied with favor and full of the blessing of the Lord, possess thou the west and the south. Now, if anybody has a map of the tribes, you'd know that Naphtali is here, very, very much north. It's like saying, I'm giving you possession of Florida, but you're going to New York. Right?
Amen.
Okay. Now, a lot of times we have to understand the beginning to understand someone's current state. See, Naphtali was the second son of a maid that was having children for a barren woman, or what was thought to be a barren woman at the time. And his birth was considered a victory in a family struggle. But how many of us have experienced that our parents' victories were only a setup for our own? Or because we may be ashamed of our family's name or history, we don't take charge of our inheritance. See, or we maybe even run from our inheritance because it's the easier thing to do. See, to take on a calling that is over your life, it's not easy. And we're going to go a little bit forward into Joshua 14. It's at 1398 BC. It's important that we understand the timelines. See, God gave direction for Naphtali to inherit the south and the west. Instead, the descendants went the opposite direction of what was ordained. As the body of Christ for this community, are we walking in the inheritance that God has ordained for us? Or are we still in a war that our parents have already won for us? See, we don't ask ourselves this question enough. And in a lot of ways, you'll see that maybe Naphtali wasn't talked about as much in the Bible. But if you look around, we're in Naphtali. See, the consequences of us being out of the will of God, like Naphtali, is that our men, it starts off with our men first, and you see it there, that they don't praise the same way. See, when they're trying to be in the presence of God, everything's different. When you're in the will of God, you seek his presence, do you not? See, and with lack of presence, you get lack of faith. And see, when you have a lack of faith, when God speaks a word to you, you need to see a man or woman of God out in front of you. You can't just move off of a word of God. Are you not seeing that here? See, because if we go forward 200 years later, after the division, and we look at Deborah and Barak, anybody know the story? All right, well, in Judges 4 and 6, Barak, a man from Naphtali, is taking direction from Deborah, a woman that's empowered by God. And it says, behold, the Lord, the God of Israel, has commanded, go and march to Mount Tabor, and take with you 10,000 men from the sons of Naphtali and from the sons of Zebulun. I will draw out to you Sisera, the commander of Jabon's army, with his chariots and his many troops to the river of Kishon, and I will give him into your hand. Then Barak, this is his response. If you will go with me, then I will go. Wow. But if you will not go with me, I will not go. Does this not look like what's happening there? Okay. See, we all get caught up that he's taking direction from a woman, but that's not what it is. Don't be confused, children of God. When you don't have the faith to move out of a word from God, you need the consistent instruction from a man or woman of God. You need to be told every step of the way because your faith is not there. You don't have the faith to just move off a word. Where Naphtali struggled with this, their patriarch Abraham was willing to circumcise himself at the age of 90 just off the word from God, just off the word. See, when you look around Lenoir now, what percentage of men will move when their pastor isn't present? See, this is how you get a region of people reactive to the steps as opposed to being proactively seeking his face. It's very clear. See, it gets deeper though, because this then affects the household. Under the Old Testament, when you find a household where the man isn't seeking God's face, it's left for the woman to do.
Amen.
And so the authority shifts from being a joint partnership to the wife's steps being numbered and ordered. And so when a woman hears a man tell her something that's contrary from the word of God, he no longer has authority.
Amen. No. Amen.
And as days turn to months and months turn to years, we have decades of a woman interceding in prayer for her family every day. And she's the one that's seeking God's face. What do you think happens, y'all? What do you think happens when there's decades of a woman struggling in a war that her husband or family can't even see, don't even know exists? Because when you think about the time period in which the Passover existed, there wasn't another Passover until King Solomon.
Yes.
And so the men who were priests over their house, who were the ones that was going out to actually slay the lamb and place the blood over their house, if that's not happening, and at the same time, the wife is now interceding in prayer, who do you think, God, look, guys, when a man and a woman are at a house, and someone knocks on the door,
Amen.
who gets up to answer that door?
Amen.
Okay, but in the spirit, if a man is now has subjugated his duties, and now the woman is now answering the door because she's the one that holds the power, so the enemy comes after her, does he not?
Amen.
Do they not? Okay, so now she's answering the door, but the blood's not covering it.
Amen. Amen.
So we go on generations and generations. Now let's fast forward 1,200 years later in the same region. Now Naphtali, this land is called Galilee. It's called what? Galilee. The same area in which Christ got 11 out of 12 of his disciples. Why did he leave Judah the first time to return to Galilee or Naphtali before he returned to the cross? Because if God has spoken a word, he will see it through. He went back to get his people back in position and get their inheritance. God is a God of order. Now look at the people of this region. Luke chapter 8 verse 1 through 3. And it came to pass afterward he went throughout every city and village preaching and shewing the glad tidings of the kingdom of God. And the 12 were with him, and certain women which had been healed of evil spirits and infirmities, Mary called Magdalene, out of whom 7 devils came out, and Joanna, the wife of Chusa Herod's steward, and Susanna, and many others which ministered upon him in their own substance. Yep. We all get caught up in the fact that he went back for 12 men. They all had regular lives.
Amen.
He went back for the women.
Amen.
Because they were the ones that were actually seeking her.
Amen.
If they had the evil spirits over them, that's because they were answering the doors.
Amen. Amen.
No Passover, women being forced to answer the door, and we all wonder why when we go into the church now. When we go to church now, because I visited like 12 churches trying to find where I was going to land. And when I go into a church now, I see who answers the door.
Amen. Amen.
Do you think about who's doing intercessory prayer? Let me turn this way. You think about how many more women are at Bible study than men? Amen. How many more women are at Sunday school than men?
Amen.
Okay. I didn't want to say it to y'all. You know, I can talk to him. See, when Goliath stepped onto the field in 1 Samuel 17:10, who did he ask for? And the Philistine said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together.
Amen.
Jesus.
When the time came for Christ to be crucified, how many men were present? Come on, sir. How many men were present? Okay.
Mostly women. It was the women that was there. It was the women.
Are we okay with being out of position and being Naphtali? And to the men of Lenoir, if you want to be a leader over your household again, or even for the first time, get in his presence.
Amen. Amen.
Stop thinking you must be qualified. See,
Yes.
I'm not qualified by man's standards. I'm not even ordained.
Amen.
But he will be glorified through my actions. Because of this, you will be certified. That's the key. You will be certified in front of him. Let his name be glorified. And in his presence. I'm tired of being